Is Florida about to make noise in the transfer portal? Brandon Olsen, Locked On Gators, joining me to discuss. Are the Gators the front runners for Colorado former five-star Cormani McClain?
I want to say, yeah, let me tell you, if you'd have asked me when Cormani McClain hit the portal, if Florida was going to be in play at all, I would have told you no. Because the moment he hit the portal, I had people from Florida tell me that kid burned so many bridges. And so I would have just written him off right away. But yeah, the front runners right now to land preferred walk-on cornerback, Cormani
Is that
McClain,
what he would be at Florida?
he would be a preferred
That's
walk-on.
pretty crazy.
Yeah, that'd be insane. I think that part of it is he does not have much interest outside. From what I've heard, a lot of his interest is from Florida A&M and Memphis, not exactly powerhouse teams there. And it's also, I think, part of just Florida's at 85 scholarships. Make him earn it, like a little humility play there. But yeah, the expectation is that if Cormani McClain is a Florida Gator, it'll be as a preferred walk on.
Which is wild for a former five-star recruit. Now, in the NIL era, of course, his school can still get paid for, and there are schools that do this all across the country. But this is a guy who does not currently have the most sparkling reputation. Deion Sanders was not speaking glowingly about him. I think that's part of the reason that Cormani ended up ditching the Buffs and is looking for a new home. And I think that that element of, hey, we want to see you put in the time, demonstrate the work ethic necessary to be a high level college football player, which we all know he's capable of being, but he's just got to find the right spot. I think that incentive, like, will put you on scholarship if you showcase these things. I think that could work out. But do you see him as a guy, if he came on as a PWO and would he play? Would he be a reserve guy? What would he do at Florida that he maybe would or would not also do over at a Florida A&M, a Memphis, or South Florida?
So I went on about a half an hour rant on today's episode, just basically saying that Cormani McClain, when he was in high school, I said this before he committed anywhere, even when I thought he was going to commit to Florida. I said he's not very good. He just has physical traits that like you can't teach, and that's why he was a 5 star. You can't teach that length and that height and that speed, just like all in one person. And I didn't think he was ready to play college football right away. And then he went to Colorado, and when he did play, wasn't good. He allowed 22 almost yards per catch. It was like 18 for 25 passing, which is like completions allowed, which is just terrible. He had all the rumors about, not even rumors, just his head coach just straight up saying, hey, he's not going to practice. He's not going to meetings. He's not doing any of these things right. It's just really hard for me to say that a kid who struggled in the Pac 12 last year, struggled to do the right things, is going to be ready and play arguably the toughest schedule that we've seen in college football, maybe ever, at least at a very long time. It's tough for me to say that he's going to be able to come in and contribute at a quality level. And that's just where we are with him. I think I liken him to when a team takes a project on day 3 of the NFL draft, very late, seventh
Mm,
round. You're putting
yeah, I like that.
very little capital investment in him. Know that if he hits, can be a superstar, but don't get your hopes up.
Let's look elsewhere in the portal for Florida because they have certainly poked and prodded. There are a lot of players still in the transfer portal. I think hundreds, if not, I don't know what the exact number is of players available, but there are still a lot of starting caliber guys out there. The guy who is yet to find a home is Elijah Badger, who I think is the most singularly impactful player available in the transfer portal because I think if he goes to the right situation, Brandon, he can be a wide receiver one at the power four level. This guy is that good. And he's looked at a couple different spots. Arizona, which would be close to where he's coming from, that being Arizona State. Washington, a place that he has visited as well, and Florida. Now, last time you and I talked transfer receivers on the show with regards to the Gators, it was about Keandre Lambert Smith, and they didn't end up landing him. He chooses Auburn instead. Are they going to be able to get Elijah Badger?
I think that as long as his medicals check out, Florida's in a really good spot to land him. Right now, that back is kind of what's holding him back here. But if his medicals check out, which I'm not super optimistic about, just because Florida historically is very conservative with clearing kids medically. If his medicals check out, I expect him to be a Florida Gator. I'm just gonna be honest here. I think Florida's swinging, and if his medicals check out, I think they're in a really good spot to land him. I think you do have a really good selling point with him and Billy Napier of just going, hey, I just coached an Arizona State transfer that went in the first round of the NFL draft. Just saying, if you want to come here and do that, you can do that. And I think that Florida's in a really good spot to land Elijah Badger if his medicals check out.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said about what in the world was going on when Jaden Daniels and Elijah Badger and a number of others and Brandon IU and all these players rolled through Arizona State, and yeah, they didn't do that much winning. But that's perhaps an indictment on the prior coaching staff and administration over there in Tempe, not the current one. I think Dillingham can do a really, really good job in what is overall a somewhat tough situation. But the latest transfer that Florida did get, and I'm definitely keeping my eye on that Badger situation because I am really, really high on him if he's healthy. The Gators did land Jason Zandamela, who was a borderline 5-star recruit when he went to USC, and he's one of those guys that was a 2024 commit and enrollee at USC, goes through spring football, throws up the deuces to the team that's always throwing up the deuces at USC. See what I did there? I tried. And thank you, Brandon, for giving me credit for trying, because that's all I'm really looking for is external validation. But Zandamela comes over to Florida. Do you expect him to be a starter, or is this a guy who's maybe the center of the future for the Gators?
I look at him as the center of the future right now. I have a strict rule that Brian Smith will confirm every single time that he's on my show of we do not want an offensive lineman starting as a true freshman. It's just not something that you want, especially in the SEC. Like those interior defensive linemen, they wreck lives over there. You don't want a true freshman starting on the offensive line there. I think that having Jason Zandamela as your backup center in 2024 allows you to maybe push the current backup center and former guard Rod Kearney, who's in his second year now, to guard and allow him to compete for that starting spot. So I think that Jason Zandamela makes an impact just indirectly right now.
Does it give you confidence about Napier and his staff at all that they were able to go and land someone who was a really highly touted recruit and a fairly highly coveted transfer portal target?
I'm gonna sound really like a hater here. I'm gonna say no, just because Jason Zandamela, when he hit the transfer portal, was very open that he wanted to be close to home in the state of Florida specifically. Options were slim there. So congratulations on landing him over any Florida school that did contact him. But Jason Zandamela said he wanted to be home or close to his, I guess, second home, because he's originally from Mozambique and then moved to Florida. So he wanted to be close to his second home in Florida. So you kind of started on third base there. You could say you hit a triple, but you started on third base there. And so as great as it is to land Jason Zandamela, UCF is a Power 4 program now, and they're making moves. You got Gus Malzahn as a fantastic.
They've made big moves in the transfer portal this offseason. A lot of really good moves.
And you beat him for Jason Zandamela, so that's awesome. But I don't think that it was as impressive as if you land an Elijah Badger, because that's across the country with no ties to you. And if you land him, then that's great. Jason Zandamela, also a great addition, but not one where I'm just like, Billy Napier's in his bag. He's doing everything possible. I'm not gonna lie to you like that. And but I do think it's a great ad still.
We appreciate the honesty as always. Brandon Olsen, Locked On Gators. Check him out on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you, good sir.
Thank you.
Some notable transfers have found homes, including, remember those defensive linemen that Texas lost to the NFL? They made a good move to replace them. That's coming up next.